Here's what I want to tell you guys. First of all, good morning. It's a great day for grappling. I'm always happy to talk with you guys. Of course, on a Saturday morning, I know that you guys probably wouldn't expect one of these things, but I just so happen to have a gentleman on today's show who beasted his fight that he had last week and ended with kind of an unusual submission. And you know what's great about it is when the fighter themselves finishes with a submission that confuses the broadcast booth. When they look at it and they're like, does anybody know how that fit? Like, yeah, okay, he won. Cool. And it's great to hear Michael Bisping at a shortage of words, because I think that's what makes for good fights. But today we decided to get in contact with him, a man who has a great tenure over in the UFC. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, one, ALEX PEREZ. Alex, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for asking. So let me ask this. Did you get to watch the footage back of the announcers? What made you of their commentary when you were watching that back?
Yeah, I gotta watch it. We watched it at night in the hotel, but nothing really. I mean, I knew I had the choke in, so it doesn't really bug me what they say.
It was more so confusing because you were kind of in like a weird, lax, almost half guard, where I think what Bisping was trying to say in the commentary was traditionally you have to pass that guard, be over to the left-hand side of the body completely to finish up that head and arm triangle.
Yeah, I think. I mean, like I said, I was going for a head and arm choke. I just think I sunk it in. I had my lock, so I just think it was just one of those like random things that just happened. It wasn't like I was planning for that. I was actually planning to go for a triangle, head and arm choke.
Because when I saw that, I was looking at it myself and I said, I always tell people this because sometimes when people look at it in disbelief, I was like, well, I don't know that pressure. So first off, I'll credit that to you. But second off, that means that your exact ability, because that dude's leg went numb, which is the tell, which is why they ended up stopping that fight. But yeah, when they looked at it, I said, man, that technique has to be really on in order to create that stoppage of that for them. Is that something that you normally hit in practice? Is that something that you're normally hitting on your guys that you're training with?
Not really. It's just like I said, I was going for a head and arm choke, and I had it synced in, and it just went like that. I mean, it wasn't planned. Like I said, I don't know if you can hear the corner, but Jeremiah was telling me not to squeeze and to start passing over, and it's just like a feeling,
Yeah.
when you're grappling or you're fighting, you just do what sometimes feels natural. And I heard him kind of breathing, and that's where I started squeezing.
Let's talk a little bit about Jeremiah. Jeremiah is a dear friend of the show. It's always nice when I see him cornering folks. Obviously Team Oyama. He's also coaching, for Ferguson. Like you see him regularly make appearances. So I love the shit out of Jeremiah. I do have one beef with you, which is this, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from. When you got to the part when you get to talk at the very end, in your post-fight speech, there was a moment when you shouted out Mike John. Now, when I heard that, I sent him a text and I was like, dude, you just got shouted out on television. And he was like, dude, I know, I was listening. I couldn't believe it. I was like, well, I booed you at home because I wanted to make sure someone was booing you. But he laughed. He was there. So why Mike John? Why specifically did you shout him out?
He's helped me just in general, just in the past, and he's just a good dude. He's helped me anytime I've needed help. He's always offered to help. It didn't matter if it was like, hey, I got to be up at 6 a.m. to train. He's always offered like, hey, I'm down. So he's a good dude. I've known him for a long time, so he's helped me out when I've needed help.
Yeah, he's all right. Not a, I just like the fact that I was like, normally I shit on his parade every chance I get. And I just like the fact that like there's a moment when you're just shouting him out on like one of the biggest displays of sporting events, and I was like, oh, he doesn't deserve that. No, let's move on. Give Jeremiah all the credit you're supposed to give Mike John, obviously. So I had a good laugh at that. When that does happen, man, so you go through all of this, the training, the fight, everything. What does the celebration look like to you? Like, how do you encapsulate that moment? How do you do something that you feel is like, all right, I did it, I won. Now what?
Um, I mean, after the fight, like it's usually hard for me to sleep. I mean, we had like one shot, and I just picked out on pizza. It's just crazy. More people are more excited for me than I think I'm excited. I think the most emotion you get out of me is inside the cage after the fight. I came from a wrestling background, so I was competing every weekend. It didn't matter if you won the tournament the weekend before, but the next week, you had another tournament and you started from no one really cared what you did last weekend. It's always, what you do this weekend. And I kind of take that here. Like, I took that night to celebrate with my friends and stuff and family, and I'm ready for the next one. Like it's already in the past.
When you say you're already looking at the next one, do you go backstage to the matchmakers? Do you already tell them like, "Hey man, I'm good. I'm really not injured. So let's how's April looking to everybody?" Is that what ends up happening, or how does that look?
Nah, I usually just give dates to my management. I've been with Jason House, Jeremy Lucho since my amateur days. Um, you know, and 30 fights later, I'm still with them. The best in the business. Um, so I just let them handle it. They ask me when I feel like I'll be ready, and yeah, I just try to stay ready for any opportunity, short notice or not. Um, all I do is fight, man. I fight. I'm a personal trainer at the Team Oyama. I teach cardio kickboxing and the wrestling classes. So I'm literally doing this all day, every day. This is what I do for a living, so I take it very serious.
That makes sense, and I'm glad that you are able to have that dialed in focus. It is hard to teach that to people because there is a rush of emotions that I know that fighters do go through. So being able to contain that is actually a huge asset. So that's good. You credit that to your wrestling. So let's talk about, I guess, your origin story. So wrestling then would probably predate doing, say, jiu-jitsu or anything like that. That's where you started?
Yeah, I started wrestling in sixth grade, um, and then kind of actually didn't want to do it, but my brother started doing it, so then I started doing it, and we're like it was just like a natural thing. And I wrestled in sixth grade all the way through high school and a little bit of junior college in California, and I didn't start training until I was eight. Like the first time I hit pads was when I was 18.
Mm.
Um, right after high school wrestling season, I knew I wanted to fight, so I started training a little bit, hitting pads, and then I started learning jiu-jitsu. I started training in a garage with Team Ochoa, so we were basically our teachers. Like I had my coach Mito Morales, he was there as well. He was my jiu-jitsu coach, my striking coach. He was the game plan guy. He was everything. And like I said, I started in a garage. Didn't have no real like a specific jiu-jitsu coach and stuff. And started there, and it took off.
Let me ask this, because when you talk about your coach, this is Coach Morales, correct?
Yeah,
So you
yeah. He's the guy that got me started.
and you credited him in a post-fight scrum just this past weekend. You say you always try and fly him out and get him into these camps, but that he also was part of the reason, he was giving you the blessing to come down to Southern California. So there was a little bit of an adjustment of going from like a Central California to down here.
Yeah. So I trained in a garage with Team Ochoa, and I mean, fighting people do it out there. Like a lot of people don't know, I'm from the Moore, and that's where WEC first started. Before this, so it's Azufa, and then they have PFC, and then Tachi Palace Fights. So I started down there, and he got me to a 92 record as a pro. 3-0 as an amateur, went 9-2, and then there's times where it was just me and him, and he's a big dude, and me and him we were like, I look at him like, you want to roll? I'm like, all right, like we'll roll 4 or 5 rounds, and then hit pads, and then I would spar with them. And then I got the opportunity to come down to Team Oyama I think it's about to be 6 years. 6 years ago, I was getting ready for a fight. I think I just got done wrestling in college, and I was getting ready for a fight. And Ian was here and stuff like that. And once I came down here, I kind of fell in love with it. And I kind of talked to my coach back home. I was like, hey, like I really want to pursue this. I think I can make it. And he's giving me his blessings. Like, yeah, man, go down there. It's probably the best opportunity you'll get. And yeah, if it wasn't for him, like, this guy used to run practice at his house, which was like 10, 15 minutes away, and he would come pick me up from my house, take me to practice, and drop me back off. So like I owe everything. I owe a lot to him. I wouldn't be here without him, that's for sure.
I mean, it almost is too easy to ask about what's bad about training in a garage. But I would like to ask, what's great about it? Like, is there anything that you ever miss from training in that garage?
Yeah, man. We used to go to war in that place, man. We didn't know about headgear back in the day. We didn't know about we just our routine was you go in there, you're gonna live roll, so you gotta get good on the fly, and then you're gonna go out there and spar and then hit pads maybe. That was our routine. That was my routine for a long time, and I miss those days. Kind of like everybody worked and then went there, trained, and went home to repeat again, and I think it just makes you the person you are. Character building, that's for sure.
Did anybody ever come outside? Like, did say somebody there like try to do laundry as you guys are grappling? Fixing up part of the garage or anything like that when you guys are doing that?
Nah, he had his garage pretty decked out. He has a nice wrestling mat, got the wall mats on there. Like it wasn't like an ordinary garage. Like we're just, we had a couple bags in there and stuff. So it
I,
was definitely
it's
character
important to ask
building.
those questions because I've definitely, I've got a couple buddies who've got garage setups, and I've definitely gone there. There's nothing quite like beating somebody up and then seeing their wife and being like, I don't want to do this in front of your, like, it's like killing you in front of your family. Like, this just seems a little mean. And she's just like, don't mind me, I'm just doing laundry. And I'm like, this is sad and a real, oh no, the kids are here too? Oh God, no, no. I guess I got to give him a sweep or something so he doesn't look so bad. Um,
uh,
you know, I think you're in good company because the very famous story for the Machado lineage was starting in a garage, and they put up that meme of like, a lot of big companies and corporations started in their garage. So it's always nice to have that origin story because it's weird. You don't think about it until you actually get there. There is a grind that made you who you were, so to say, to now. So it is kind of interesting that you have that background to be able to always fall back on.
oh yeah, man. Like I said, I remember working in the fields and then going to practice, doing cutting grass, doing whatever I had to do to get jobs, and working at a freight company and then going to practice in the garage. So it's like I said, it's a different mindset than a lot of other people have around my age. Had to grow up kind of fast. I decided to move out of my house and had to try to pay my bills and fighting and working a couple different jobs was part of it.
Let me ask this because I think it's important to kind of establish, you talk about doing the act of fighting, but you seem like somebody who could have had a very successful career as a wrestling coach once it was all said and done. You could have stayed in that, just that career. What was the emphasis on saying, you know what, I actually want to fight? Do you remember a specific moment where you said, like, oh, okay, yeah, I want to do that?
Yeah, I was actually helping my one of my managers get ready for a fight. His name's Jeremy Lucha. I was helping him get ready for the fight. He just asked me like, "Hey, do you want to help me out with wrestling?" I was already coaching. Like I started coaching when I was a freshman in high school, just helping the youth program. That I would do that, and our coach would pay for like some tournaments or he'll pay for a USA card. So I would do that, and I always just enjoyed coaching. And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'll help you out." I was coaching his son. And I started helping him out, and then. I told him I want to fight. He's like, well, try to go to college first. I mean, fighting will always be here. Try to get your education. And I was like, man, I just want to fight. I just want to try it one time. I just want to like screw it. Like, I don't want to be older and be like, hey, I could have done this, and be on TV, be like, hey, I could have fucked that guy up or something. Some people do that, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it one time and see where. Like, I didn't know I was gonna do it this far, but I just want to try it, and then 30 fights later, now I'm here, doing the same thing.
I was about to say it is, your Wikipedia tells a story. It's like you look down at your fight record, and I just look at that, and I'm like, my God.
Like I'm super competitive, like and anything, and I talk the most shit. If I don't talk shit to you, that means I don't like you. You know what I mean? So, if I talk shit, uh, I like to joke around. I like to have a good time, but I'm also very serious at what I do.
But, hey, that's good, man. I mean, I find that that's the serious person way of having fun. You know, I learned that very quickly when I was playing sports. People would be like, "Why are you so serious?" When you would play sports, because I'd be so jokey outside. So my soccer coach would famously be like, "Well, how are you? You're joking on the sides, but when you're on the field, you're very serious." And I was like, "I just want to give you my best. Like, I don't want to be an idiot." Like, there's a time to be
Yeah.
funny and there's a time to like focus in and do the work. And so I think he had eventually got to the point where he's like, you know what, just fuck around. Don't like, it'll probably make you better if you're less serious. And I was like, no, not interested. Thanks though. I know I'm funny, so I don't really need you to tell me I'm funny. It was kind of how it came. Well, that's good. I mean, to be fair, I don't consider myself a highly competitive person, but I do tell people, I'm like, there's just 10 people on my list that I'm like, under no circumstances will I let them win at anything. Like, those are the people that I'm like, we could literally be playing chess one moment and I'll be like, cool, how's your half guard? You good at that? You want to go do that right now? And they'll be like, Raph, you need to not. And I'm like, well, I don't do this to everybody. There's only 10 people who I really just pick on a little bit like that. So that's cool. Tell me about this, man. So now, what was it like, I guess, getting the call to go into the UFC? Because that's something that I think is a special moment. I think, not everybody gets in their fight career, but it's indicative of excellence at a craft. So what did it feel like when you were finally given that moment and it as an acknowledgement that like, yo, we want you to fight in the premier fighting organization in the world?
Well, my story's a little different. I went on the Contender Series. I was actually getting ready to fight at Tachi Palace at 135s, and then I get the call, like, oh, Contender Series 125. A week later, I'm like, dude, I'm like 160 right now. They're like, yeah, cool, you got to make the weight. And they basically told me if I don't go out there and stop this guy, that this is probably be my last chance. I had two other chances to impress. I fought in San Diego. Dana White, Matt Serra were there for looking for a fighter, and then I had a Tachi title. I ended up losing to Adam Antolon, and he ends up becoming on the Ultimate Fighter. And then so I took this as my last chance, and after I won, you're just kind of waiting in the back, just waiting because you never know if you're gonna get the contract or not. It's not guaranteed when you win. And I got the contract, and it was probably one of the best feelings. Me and my team kind of laughs because I was gonna work at this cheese factory back home. I was gonna quit, work at cheese factory. They make good money, kind of thing. And I was just like, hey, I was just glad that Coach Colin kind of gave me the opportunity to move down south and kind of pursue this a little bit longer, because I gave myself a timeline. I was 25. I gave myself until I was 26 to try to make it to UFC, just because I wanted to eventually do something. It wasn't like I don't want to be 30 years old still fighting for the dream to be in the UFC. So I was like, I'm giving myself until I'm 26, and then we'll go from there. And I made it right before, and probably the best thing in the world was knowing that I was going to fight. My first fight in the UFC was in Fresno, so basically my backyard. And I think it doesn't matter all the wins. I think that walk out there is probably one of my biggest moments, is walking out in Fresno. I couldn't even hear my music. It was probably the best feeling in the world.
Can I just say, on behalf of all of us who watch fights, I'm just happy that you also got in the UFC, because I couldn't imagine going to a Cheesecake Factory with a hyper competitive guy who might be asking me, my order or something like that, and be like, hey, he looks like he's got that look like he wants to fight me, and I'm just trying to order a salad, bro. Like, I don't know what's up, man. Like, I don't want this to happen. I mean, it's kind of intense. Those stories, they put that extra pressure on you to want to achieve excellence. So, it's really commendable, and I think it is pretty dope. And I mean, watching the Contender Series you feel for those athletes, because like you said, you get those one shots. And so, for all of us who see it all the later, the story's good. The story's got 5 minutes left, and it's like, nah, Dana's going to hand out a contract. But to you guys, it's life. So, it's something that I think is pretty dope that has happened for you. Let's talk about what comes up next, because in our previous thing, our last little footage kind of cut out, but we did get a question or two thrown at us. The first of which I believe came from Rick Alarcon, a very nice human being, also wrestling savage himself, who was saying, obviously, let's talk about a title shot. He's like, let's get that 135 title on this man. So he's sending in his love over there. But we have a lot of people who, I think, when we say what's happening next, obviously that's one of the goals, and you're climbing the rankings. what do you see? Like, what do you envision as happening next for you?
I mean, to me, just another fight, man. Honestly, to see who's someone ranked above me, below me, doesn't matter. I say it all the time. I don't get paid to sit on the couch. I get paid to fight. So I'm not picky. Like, hey, if they want to give me a guy that's not ranked, cool. A guy that's ranked, cool. It doesn't matter to me. I'm eventually gonna have to fight everybody in the division to get a title shot. I want my rematch with Benavidez. He knows I'm coming, but I got to work my way up there. I do my job, and I'll get that rematch with him. If he's a champion, great. If he's not the champion, cool. I'm still gonna get that rematch. I just kind of just do my job and kind of see what they want.
Makes sense. In the meantime, obviously, the training goes back up. When ideally for you would you be looking? Well, I mean, you said you go through management at that point, but if it were up to you, when would you want to fight again?
I mean, honestly, I would fight like every other month if I could. That's what I did a lot in my early career. But maybe April, March. I know March is kind of booked, but April, end of April would be cool. I want to get my goal this year is get 3 wins, 3 fights this year. So go from there.
Okay, that's good. I mean, there's also July. I mean, July is always a nice time. It's not that far in Vegas. Payday's usually better. So just saying. Not trying to I mean, they just announced a fight that might be kind of hype. So, July doesn't work too bad either. I mean, obviously, if you want to get out there sooner, that's cool too.
It's like, so you got to so I think about it like this. Like, obviously, money is super important. But if you go on a pay-per-view event, right, how many times do people show up to fight? I remember one time one of my buddies finished, and it was like the 9th finish of the night, where like sometimes like the fight nights or whatever, the ESPN fight nights aren't as stacked with as like big names or like killers. They're just, like they're good, but they're not like guys that are going to do that. So for me, I'd rather go on a fight night where I get a better chance of winning, where then you put like obviously like Khabib and Ferguson card would be huge, but how many finishers are going to be on that card? They're going to stack those cards up to the max,
Yeah.
So for me, I look at it dollar wise, man. Like if I get on a fight night, I have a better chance of making 50 G's rather than, just making my regular 2 checks. I can make a 3rd check, but everybody thinks about it different. Like I wouldn't mind being on the Khabib Ferguson card. That'd be awesome. But hey, if I'm on another fight night, that's good for me too.
Fair enough. I just always look at numbers, so I'm a guy who can literally tell you exactly what. I work in TV, so for me, I read ratings on a daily basis. So sometimes it's like I'll look at a fighter and I'll be like, you don't want this card, you want this card. And I'll be like, this one's gonna get you. Like, I don't care what the house looks like. I know what the numbers look like on ESPN. So that way, half the time I look around, I'm like, ooh, on paper, that actually might do well. And I think one of the interesting things is even getting on those prelim cards on ESPN Plus leading into the pay-per-view. It's like, I feel like those are some of the big exposure nights where I'm like, one of my friends, Drew Dober, he just fought to lead off. And on a stack card as well recently, ended up walking with a nice walk-away check where boss man Dana White is being like, you guys see Drew Dober? That was good. Look at him. He fought fucking good. If you don't know now, you know. And I was like, hey, that's my friend. Good job, Dana. I'm glad we're all on agreement on this. We had a couple other things. Humberto Benede says, Peru with you, bro. Alex, can you speak Spanish, please? Like, what? Why are we getting people to ask you to speak Spanish?
Oh, man, kids. I used to live with them. He used to train with us. He's fighting for Combates. He's going to fight for their title pretty soon. He just won that Copa America, 100 G's. So, yeah. And no, I can't speak Spanish for you, Humberto.
Do you speak Spanish?
I speak Spanglish.
Okay, all right. You're in my situation. I get more the looks of expectation that I should speak fluent Spanish, and I was like, no, that's not me. However, I understand what people are saying about me. So whenever people speak Spanish around me, I usually just respond in English, and I'm like, listen, bro, this is how my brain works. I can't turn it off. If you speak to me in Spanish, I'm going to respond in English. I just understand what you're saying. I'm just an idiot in terms of being able to respond back to this. Dream McLean had a question for you, which is, Do you think that your wrestling background helps you or hurts you in your craft?
I think it helps me. I mean, just my work ethic alone, it helps me there. If you've never been to a wrestling room, never been to a wrestling practice, the grind that you get put in, for a whole season, that make you wait weekly, wrestling through injuries, post season is probably one of the most stressful times for guys. Like you have league, and then you have divisionals. You have to be top six. If you don't make it, you don't go into the next week. You don't make top six at Masters. You ain't making it to the state tournament. And then once the state tournament is like, man, you get the best 42 guys, 60 guys in the state of California wrestling for 8 medals. I think it helps me tremendously just by my work ethic and just being able to dictate where the fight goes.
I guess the thing that I didn't really think about until now, and you can tell me yes or no, is that you mentioned you're very competitive, and again, I understand. But does that carry over to when you're coaching people? Because I do wonder, when you say wrestling,
Oh, yeah.
and I've been to wrestling tournaments, and I've seen wrestling coaches, I now start to have an image in my head of being like, oh no, I could totally see Alex as that guy on the sidelines yelling, because there is nothing you can do per se.
Yeah, I mean, I would never I'm competitive. I don't like to lose, but I never get mad at a fighter or an athlete if they lose and go out there and give everything. I give everything they got. You know what I mean? I do get mad. And I will get in someone's ass if they're losing because they're out of shape. There's no point for you to be out of shape. That's the one thing you control in wrestling and in fighting. Control being in shape. It doesn't matter if you have the worst camp of your life, but you can control how many miles you ran, how all the extra work you put in. So I would never yell at someone because they went out there and lose. We all lose, mistake or not. The guy might be better than you. You might make a mistake, whatever it is. But I will get mad if they lose because they're out of shape. I would never tell them there, but the next time we have practice, I will tell them hey, what's your problem? Why are you out of shape? You ain't doing the extra work. Practice is just a practice. Where you get in shape is on your spare time, or cutting weight. It's the same thing. I don't believe in cutting weight during practice. Why are you wearing so many sweaters? It's just gonna stop you from working out.
Yeah.
You do that. Do you do all that stuff on your own time?
Makes sense. That's fair. Let's do this real quick, because I do want to kind of start to wind down. We want to be respectful every time. I know you got more training to do today and coaching. When you do look at that though, and you're I think that's a good philosophy to never, when fighters are giving their all, it's very easy to fall into a trap of being like, oh, do this or do that. But to recognize no, you're doing it, you're trying. It just didn't work today.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've all been there before. You know what I mean? I've been there in fights where hey, the guy was just better than me. I've been there, where I made a mistake in wrestling matches, or where I screw up in the last 15 seconds. It happens.
But I did want to ask this, and maybe this is to go in conjunction with Doreen's question when she was asking, wrestling background helps or hurts you. I think the question I had was, in regards to that, is what was the hardest thing to transition from wrestling mentality to jiu-jitsu when you were doing that?
Being on your back. When we used to pinning people, we're not used to being on their back. That's the hardest part. And throughout the years, it's kind of all right, eventually I'm going to get taken down, so I got to work on it. And, that's probably the hardest part of doing that. The one thing that I took positive from it is just being aggressive, always hand fighting, clubbing. I'll headbutt you, I don't care. Using head position, I'm just trying to always win. But those are two things I think that one was the hardest and one was kind of the easiest thing.
I'll just warn you now, please don't try and hit me with your head with my head. My head is quite large, and it's literally the least vulnerable part of my body. So, if we're ever rolling, just you're probably better off club and digging me. I'm just not like I want it, but I'll give you a head start. I don't want to create any CTE from how dumb my head is. I would say this though. When you mentioned that though, and you mentioned about getting those takedowns, I would say you are served very well by a Jeremiah Vance, where I think even if you do get the takedown on him, he's so used to being in that position and has so many little tools there. I think that's a wonderful weapon to have at your disposal, because I know it's great. You get a takedown, you feel pretty good. But then with Jeremiah, he's like, cool, thanks, dude. You did half the work for me.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to take him down. I would just knee him in the face.
Good. That's that's a very funny thing. I would appreciate you for doing that. Mostly because every time I see that man, he's got a highlight reel finish on somebody that just looks disgustingly nasty. And
Oh yeah,
his rubber guard is so legendary that like he'll tell me, he's like, Raph, no, you could do this stuff. I was like, let's be very clear. What you're doing is nice. It's beautiful. It's got a great art to it. I'm not bending like any part of those things. I'll take the concepts you got, but if you think I'm hitting some sort of fly trap on somebody, you're out of your mind. Like just out of your mind. So
yeah, he's crazy. I've seen some of those finishes. I'm like, man.
Yeah, no, he's good people. Jeremiah, that's why when I saw that, I was like, yo, dude, because, Jeremiah is always that person who's always like, I've interviewed him multiple times and he's a homie and I consider him to be a fairly good person in our community. So it's always a nice shorthand when you already know, like, when you reach out to somebody, it's already a shorthand of like, oh, you're friends with Jeremiah, you're okay. Like, I have no issue. Like, we'll get along just fine. You're friends with Mike John? Not really looking good for you. It's like 50-50 here. So, Alex, let me ask this, dude. I want to give you some time to shout out your sponsors. Would you mind taking a moment to go ahead and thank the people who helped get you to that win last week, my man?
Yeah, I just want to thank all my team, Team Oyama, my main training partner Yuma Haraguchi. That guy was my main training partner for this camp. My strength and conditioning coach, Corey Beasley, been with them for the last 5 to 6 years consistently. Obviously Jeremiah Van, Michael John, Chito Vera, all those guys, Mito Morales, and everybody at One Jiu-Jitsu, Coach Giva Santana. Thank you guys for all the help perfecting athletes as well. My nutritionist, the best in the game. Thank you guys. Without you guys, I for sure wouldn't be here. And then obviously all my sponsors, without you guys are amazing. You guys help me pay with recovery and stuff like that. So Miss Mary Jane CBD, probably one of my favorite products to take. I take it daily. Also drink HRW, help with my recovery as well with the bath salts and then the waters they give me. Those things are amazing. Lace and Loop, training easier. They have some spray I spray on my gloves so they don't smell as bad as the other guys do. Defense soap, and then High Desert Python. Thank you guys so much for all the support. I wouldn't be here without you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you for constant support. And then the Alarcon family. Thank you guys. You guys are amazing. ATTC, everything you guys do for me in and out of camp. You guys are amazing family. I couldn't be happier to represent you guys' team.
They're good people. I very much like them. Yeah, because I noticed you were wearing the High Desert Pythons, and I was like, what is that? That's a dope shirt, by the way.
Yeah, so my buddy Antoine, he's from Ridgecrest, out of middle of nowhere, and he has all these snakes, man. He's onto snakes and stuff, and he's he sells them and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy. I wasn't a snake guy, but I look at his stuff, it kind of makes me want to get one, but I'm like, I don't know. I'm always traveling, so I don't know how they survive with someone being gone. But
right.
Yeah, he has snakes and stuff like that for sale. He does a good job. He's a good guy. He owns his own gym. Always just looking to support the MMA community.
That's pretty dope. That's a good thing to see, my man. Well, I want to say thank you very much for your time, dude. It's it was something to behold, dude. I always try to keep an eye out for people who do dope shit, and I thought that that submission was so unique that you hit last week that I was like, I'm just gonna fast track this. I usually like to run into the fighters in person first and say like, hey, I want to set up a time to interview or do this or that sort of thing. I saw that and I just said, man, the show's called Grappling Hour, so it's always great to get to talk to those people who do those finishes in MMA that are unique and different and that stand out, and that I think it's kind of funny when all of our same friends are like saying like, yo, bro, you made ESPN, you did all this shit. So it's like, anytime that we can put a little bit more attention and shine to that, I think is a good thing. Plus, you're out here in SoCal grinding away with a lot of our very similar aspects of folks that we know in our Venn diagram. So I just want to say thank you so much for your time, Alex. Very much appreciate it.